Imagine holding the winning ticket in your hand. Not tomorrow, not someday, right? Imagine the weight of it, the colors, the numbers that line up in perfect harmony. Feel the quiet shock moving through your chest, the gratitude rising like warm light, the certainty that this moment was always yours. That is the doorway. That is the beginning. Because the secret to manifesting something as massive as a jackpot is not found in effort or luck. It begins in the invisible world you carry within you. The inner world is the only real world. Everything you experience in your outer life is a reflection of what you have already accepted as true inside yourself. The moment you assume a state, your world rearranges to match it. The moment you identify with the version of you who already has what you desire, life follows that identity like a shadow that cannot detach itself from the body. Many people believe manifesting money requires strain, specific rituals, or constant visualizing. But the truth is softer, deeper, more intimate. You create not by reaching, but by knowing. You don't beg for what you want. You move into the feeling of already being the one who has it. There's a line in Scripture that says, whatever you ask for when you pray, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Notice the instruction. Believe you have already received it, not believe you might. Not believe it will happen later. Believe you already hold it in your possession. This is the heart of assumption. This is the power that creates worlds. So how does this apply to something as unbelievable as winning the Mega Millions jackpot? First, understand this. The size of the desire means nothing. Life does not measure difficulty. Life only mirrors belief. Whether you want a cup of coffee or a fortune, the creative mechanism is the same. You accept it inwardly, you feel it as true, and you let that feeling guide you into a new state of being. You start by becoming familiar with the version of you who has already won. Picture them, not as someone separate from you, but as your true identity. How do they walk? How do they breathe? What kind of peace hangs in their voice? What kind of gratitude fills their mornings? You merge with this version of yourself until there is no distance between who you believe you are now and who you choose to be. There is a story often shared about imagining the wish fulfilled. A man wanted great wealth, but saw no path toward it. He didn't focus on money falling into his hands. Instead, he imagined the emotional aftermath. He imagined conversations with loved ones. He imagined the relief in his heart. He imagined the feeling of being secure, supported, and free. That feeling became so natural to him that life had no choice but to bring it into form, and it did, through channels he never could have predicted. You do not need to imagine the draw, the numbers, or the process. That creates tension. You imagine from the end. You imagine the feeling of receiving the call. You imagine checking the numbers and laughing with disbelief. You imagine lying in bed whispering to yourself, I knew it. I always knew it. It may feel strange at first because your senses contradict it, but your senses are not the authority. They are simply mirrors. They show you what you once believed. When you change your inner assumption, your senses eventually adjust to the new reality. This is why persistence matters. Not effort, not force, but quiet inner loyalty to the feeling of fulfillment. You return to it when doubt creeps in. You breathe into it when fear shakes you. You close your eyes and slip back into that version of you who knows the jackpot has already been won. You don't chase it, you claim it. Even Scripture speaks in this language. It says that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. This means your inner conviction is the only proof you need. You don't wait for the world to show you results. You allow your inner world to be the guarantee. Examples of manifestation always follow this pattern. There are people who manifested healing when doctors had given up hope. People who manifested love after years of loneliness. People who manifested opportunities they could never have logically accessed. In every case, it began with a simple shift, the acceptance of a new identity. Money is no different. Winning is no different. The prize already exists. The version of you who holds it already exists in the infinite possibilities of consciousness. The only question is whether you will choose to inhabit that version of yourself. And you do it gently. You do it without strain. Sit quietly and picture the aftermath of winning. Let your imagination become a place of comfort instead of longing. Feel the ease of knowing everything in your life has changed. Feel the gratitude bubbling up. Let it wash over you until it feels natural, even ordinary. When you touch that feeling, even for a moment, something shifts. The old state begins to fade. The new state begins to anchor. Life starts rearranging, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. You may feel guided to buy a ticket at a certain time. You may feel a sudden confidence you can't explain. You may notice signs, synchronicities, odd coincidences that whisper you're in alignment. Do not dismiss them. These are gentle signals that your assumption is taking root. What matters most is the inner conviction. The outer world is only the echo. If doubt appears, don't fight it. Just return to the inner scene. Return to the inner acceptance. Return to the feeling of being the winner. You are not pretending, you are selecting, you are choosing the state that already exists in the larger reality. Remember that desire is not random. Desire is a promise. Desire is a preview of what is possible and already available. You would not feel the longing if the fulfillment were not already prepared for you. Your only job is to accept it as done. And in that acceptance, something beautiful happens. Fear dissolves. Neediness dissolves. The idea of trying to manifest dissolves. You stop reaching and start receiving. You stop questioning and start knowing. The feeling of relief becomes your resting place. Your imagination is the workshop. Your assumption is the blueprint. Your feeling is the magnet. The moment you assume the state of being the winner, the world begins to shift in your favor. You may not see how, you may not know when, but the seed is planted and the harvest must come. Life is faithful to the state you occupy. As you fall asleep, imagine the quiet joy of knowing you are financially free. Imagine someone congratulating you. Imagine hearing the words that confirm your win. Let the scene be short, simple, loving. Let it play out like a memory, not a wish. The feeling is what imprints the subconscious, not the details. Trust the process. Trust the unseen. Trust the version of you that already exists in fullness, abundance, and complete financial freedom. That version of you is calling you forward. Answer with your assumption. Answer with your inner certainty. Let the feeling be your prayer. Let your imagination be your sanctuary. Let your faith be your foundation. Everything you desire is already unfolding. Your only task is to accept that it is already accomplished, already real, already yours. The more you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the more natural it becomes. At first, it may feel like you are stepping into a role you haven't fully grown into yet, but that's only because your old beliefs are still echoing in the background. With repetition, the new identity begins to feel familiar. It becomes your home. You stop feeling like you're imagining something far away and start feeling like you're remembering something that already happened. There's a quiet power in the shift. You begin to think differently without effort. You notice yourself carrying a calm confidence that you once thought required proof. You start moving through the world with the awareness that something good is on its way, even if there's no physical evidence yet. That inner knowing becomes your compass. It guides your choices, your reactions, and even the way you talk to yourself. This is where your imagination becomes your closest ally. When negative thoughts show up, you don't argue with them, you don't fight them. You simply replace them with the inner scene you've chosen. You go back to the moment of holding the winning ticket. You go back to the feeling in your chest, the stillness, the gratitude, the certainty. You allow that feeling to wash over you again and again until it becomes stronger than any doubt. Remember, that assumption isn't about forcing your mind to believe something. It's about relaxing into the feeling of what is already yours in the unseen. You are not trying to convince yourself. You are aligning with a deeper truth. The truth that consciousness creates reality. The truth that everything begins in imagination. The truth that what you accept as real inwardly must express outwardly. Think of someone who has already achieved something wonderful. They don't wake up hoping it's true. They wake up knowing it's true. They carry themselves differently, speak differently, make decisions from a completely different level of confidence. This is the same shift you are creating. You are stepping into the energy of someone who has already received their blessing. Even the smallest glimpses of that feeling count. Those moments when you catch yourself smiling at the thought of your new life, those moments when you feel light and expectant for no reason at all, those moments when you imagine your future and it feels real, not distant. These are signs that your inner work is transforming your state. There's a passage that speaks of calling things that are not yet seen as though they already are. This is the essence of manifestation. You don't describe your life based on what your senses show you. You describe your life based on what you have claimed internally. You speak from fulfillment, not lack. You move from gratitude, not desperation. You anchor yourself in the invisible before it becomes visible. What you're doing is selecting a new reality, not creating it, because every possibility already exists. You're choosing the timeline where you are financially free, where abundance flows easily, where the jackpot has already been won. You're stepping into the consciousness of that version of yourself. Once you make that choice inwardly, life begins the process of bringing you into alignment with it. Don't worry about how it will happen. The mind always tries to predict the path, but the path is never the important part. The end state is what matters. The feeling of having the desire fulfilled is what matters. The rest unfolds in ways you could never plan. It might look ordinary on the outside, but the orchestration behind it is precise, intelligent, and perfect. Many people try to manifest by focusing on the physical steps, but the physical steps only come after the inner shift. They are the consequence, not the cause. Your job is to live in the feeling of the end. Life will take care of the bridge of events. Life will handle the timing. Life will arrange the circumstances. All you do is remain loyal to the feeling. As you practice this inner alignment, you may notice unexpected blessings appearing in your life. Little signs of movement. Maybe a sudden financial gift. Maybe a new opportunity. Maybe a moment of intuition that guides you to act at the right time. These aren't random. These are the first signs that your assumption is solidifying into form. Keep your heart soft during this process. Stay gentle with yourself. Don't measure your progress by what you see outside. Measure it by the strength of your inner conviction. Measure it by the ease you feel when you imagine your desire as already done. That the peace that begins to settle in your body. When you fall asleep at night, allow your imagination to take you into the world where your wish is fulfilled. Drift into rest while feeling the joy of financial freedom. Let that be the final imprint on your consciousness each night. This moment before sleep is powerful because your mind is open, receptive, and impressionable. What you feel in those final minutes becomes the seed that grows as you move through your days. Carry yourself as the person who already lives in abundance. Let your body reflect it. Let your tone reflect it. Let your choices reflect it. You're not pretending, you're identifying, you're embodying, you're aligning with a truth that already exists in the unseen, waiting for its expression. This process is more than manifesting money. It is a return to your true nature as the creator of your reality. It is an awakening to the power of consciousness. It is a remembrance that what you accept as true becomes your world, and that world is shifting for you. You might begin to notice small changes in the way you think about possibility. The idea of winning no longer feels far away or impossible. It starts to feel reachable, almost familiar. That's how the inner world transforms first. Possibility becomes normal, hope becomes steady, confidence becomes quiet but constant. These shifts are subtle, but they are the foundation of everything that follows. As this inner certainty grows, your imagination becomes more vivid. You can see the moment clearly. You hear the sound of your own excitement. You sense the warmth in your hands. You feel the way your heart expands with gratitude. These aren't random daydreams. They are inner rehearsals of a state you've already chosen. Each time you return to the feeling, you strengthen the reality of it. It helps to bring your attention to the emotional truth of your desire rather than the physical form. The numbers on the ticket don't matter. The store where you buy it doesn't matter. What matters is the feeling of fulfillment, the feeling of being supported, the feeling of stepping into a life where you never have to worry about money again. These emotions open the door for the physical manifestation to arrive. You may find yourself acting differently without trying. You might catch yourself smiling more often. You might feel lighter, more open, more receptive. You might start trusting that things can work out for you in ways you never expected. This isn't wishful thinking. It's the natural effect of dwelling in a new state of consciousness. There is a powerful truth hidden in many teachings you receive according to your belief, not according to effort. When you believe deeply in the unseen, doors open that your rational mind would never imagine. The world bends to the strength of your inner conviction. Opportunity finds you. Timing aligns for you, and events shape themselves around the state you occupy. Let your desire feel like a promise rather than a possibility. If the desire was placed in your heart, it wasn't random. It was a sign of what already belongs to you in the invisible realm. The feeling of longing is simply the pull of your future self calling you forward. When you understand this, you stop doubting. You stop overthinking. You relax into trust. This trust becomes stronger every time you return to the feeling of already winning. When your mind tries to analyze or question, you gently redirect it back to the end. You breathe into the feeling of relief. You remember the joy rising gently in your chest. You picture the moment that confirms everything you already knew inside. Over time, this becomes your new normal. Even your relationship with money begins to shift. It stops feeling scarce or distant. It becomes something you see as natural, abundant, and always flowing toward you. When the inner world changes, the outer world must follow. It may come through a ticket or through a different channel entirely, but the essence of abundance will express itself. Consciousness never fails to reflect what you choose. As you continue this inner work, you may notice that the desire feels less intense, not because you've given up on it, but because you've accepted it. When a desire becomes natural to you, it loses the feeling of longing. Longing means distance. Acceptance means closeness. When you reach acceptance, the desire feels complete, as if it already happened. This is the moment when manifestation is closest. During the day, you can anchor yourself in simple reminders. A deep breath with the feeling of gratitude. A quiet smile with the thought of your new life. A moment where you close your eyes and return to the inner scene. These small acts are powerful because they reinforce the state you've chosen. The state becomes your home. What you're cultivating is a persistent inner awareness that everything is unfolding for you. You're building a foundation of faith that doesn't waver when the outer world looks unchanged. You're training yourself to see beyond appearances and trust the deeper movement taking place within you. Your dreams are not random sparks of imagination. They are glimpses of what already exists in the unseen. You are learning to choose which reality you bring into physical expression. The reality where you are abundant, secure, joyful, and free is waiting for you to align with it. And you align with it through feeling, through faith, through assumption. Every night as you rest, you can slip into the awareness of fulfillment. Let your imagination hold you in that moment where everything changed. Let the feeling sink deep into your subconscious. Let it become the atmosphere of your sleep. The subconscious accepts what you feel to be true and reflects it without question. Every day as you walk through life, carry the quiet knowledge that something wonderful is moving toward you. Not because of luck, not because of chance, but because you called it into being with your inner assumption. There is a calm that settles in once you begin to live from the end. It's not loud or dramatic. It's a gentle confidence that sits quietly in your chest. You stop checking for signs. You stop wondering if it's working. You stop trying to convince yourself. You just know. You know the same way you know the sun will rise. You know because the feeling has taken root inside you. This knowing becomes the atmosphere you move through. It softens your thoughts. It shifts your energy. It draws matching experiences into your world. When you walk in this inner certainty, you begin to attract opportunities that mirror your new state without forcing anything. Life rises to meet the version of you that you've chosen to embody. At times notice your old state pulling at you. Doubts may whisper. Fear may try to creep back in. This is normal. It's simply the old identity losing its grip. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to wrestle with it. You just return to your chosen feeling. You return to the memory of fulfillment. You return to the moment where your wish is already real. Each return weakens the old state and strengthens the new one. You may feel inspired to talk differently about your future. Your words begin to carry more hope, more clarity, more confidence. This shift isn't forced. It flows naturally because your inner landscape has changed. When your inner world becomes stable, your outer world begins to respond. You might also notice new ideas coming to you. Inspiration may strike in the simplest moments. A nudge to take a certain action. A feeling to go somewhere. A sense that something is aligning. These impulses are gentle. They don't feel like pressure. They feel like guidance. They are the unfolding of the bridge between your inner assumption and the physical manifestation. Allow yourself to trust these inner movements. They come from the same source that gave you the desire. They guide you toward the expression of what you have already accepted. Everything in your life begins to coordinate with your new state. People, timing, conversations, small events all shift in your favor. You may not always notice it at first, but the pattern becomes undeniable with time. This is the quiet magic of assumption. You're not controlling the outer world, you're controlling the inner state that the outer world responds to. When the inside is stable, the outside has no choice but to conform. You may find moments of deep gratitude rising without any specific reason. Gratitude becomes your natural emotion because you're living in the feeling of someone who has already received their blessing. This gratitude is powerful. It amplifies your assumption. It communicates to the subconscious that the fulfillment already exists. When you connect with gratitude, everything feels possible. Everything feels close. Everything feels aligned. Gratitude opens your heart and softens any remaining resistance. It raises your state and makes the feeling of fulfillment even more natural. As you go about your days, you might notice that you're no longer waiting for something to happen. Waiting has a feeling of distance. Knowing has a feeling of presence. When you know, you stop searching for signs and start recognizing them. You stop hoping and start expecting. You stop wishing and start living. The version of you who has already won carries a different energy. They're grounded, they're calm, they're secure, they're generous. You can step into this version of yourself at any moment by assuming their feelings, their posture, their confidence. When you inhabit that state fully, the outer world becomes a mirror that reflects it. And this is the beauty of the law. You don't manifest by chasing, grasping, or begging. You manifest by becoming. You become the version of yourself who already has the life you desire. You live from the end, not toward it. This shift may feel gradual at times. Some days the feeling comes effortlessly. Other days you may need to gently guide yourself back. Both are part of the process. Every moment you return to the feeling, you strengthen the state. Every moment you choose faith over fear, you build the bridge. Little by little, the inner story changes. The narrative you tell yourself becomes richer, kinder, more expansive. The inner dialogue shifts from doubt to trust, from fear to certainty, from longing to fulfillment. This inner story is what the world responds to. Everything begins as a feeling. Every manifestation starts as an inner knowing. The jackpot, the abundance, the financial freedom all begin as quiet images in your mind and warm emotions in your heart. Once you accept them, they must take form. What you choose to assume becomes your reality. There comes a point where the dream stops feeling extraordinary and starts feeling natural. This is a quiet turning point. When the desire begins to feel normal rather than distant, you have stepped fully into the state of fulfillment. The extraordinary becomes familiar. The miracle becomes expected. This is often when the physical world begins to shift in the most surprising ways. You may notice your inner reactions changing. Situations that once caused stress no longer feel heavy. Thoughts that once triggered fear now pass through you without impact. This is because your identity has moved. You're no longer living from the version of you who worries, doubts, or second guesses. You're living from the version who already knows abundance is guaranteed. As this identity strengthens, you begin to trust the flow of your life more deeply. You stop feeling the need to control every step. You understand that the unseen is at work, guiding you gently, arranging everything with perfect timing. You trust that the right actions will reveal themselves and the right moments will unfold effortlessly. There is a line that speaks of asking in faith without wavering. This doesn't mean forcing positive thoughts. It means settling into the calm assurance that your desire has already been accepted in the invisible. You don't waver because you're not waiting. You're living from it. This is why the inner world holds so much power. The outer world can only rearrange itself after the inner shift has happened. When you truly accept your new state, you'll notice the world beginning to respond. Nudges, synchronicities, unexpected conversations, intuitive impulses, and small turns of fate start weaving together. These are not coincidences. They're reflections of the inner movement you've already made. Sometimes the manifestation arrives in a sudden dramatic wave. Sometimes it unfolds through a steady sequence of events. But the result is always the same. The outer world aligns with the inner certainty. As you continue nurturing this state, you might catch yourself feeling excitement,
smallest moments.
A sense of anticipation may rise out of nowhere, like your spirit already knows something is approaching. This feeling is a sign that you're aligned with the path your consciousness is creating. There might even be moments where the vision of your new life flashes vividly before your eyes. The home you live in, the people you help, the peace you feel, the choices you can now make freely. These glimpses are reminders of what you've already claimed. They are echoes of the reality forming around you. In time, you begin to move through the world with a different posture. You stand a little taller, your eyes soften, your voice carries more assurance. You don't announce anything to anyone. You don't need to. The energy speaks for you. The state you occupy radiates itself outward. Even your habits begin to shift. You become more intentional. You value your peace more. You listen to your intuition with greater trust. You follow the inner flow instead of external pressure. This is what happens when you step into a higher version of yourself. You live from abundance long before the world reflects it. And that inner abundance becomes magnetic. People respond to it. Opportunities respond to it. Life responds to it. You become a match to the reality you've imagined, not by force, but by becoming the embodiment of it in your thoughts and feelings. Your desire to win is not just about the money. It's about the freedom, the security, the expansion, the ability to help others, the peace of knowing your life has shifted into a new chapter. When you focus on the essence of the desire, the physical form becomes much easier to receive. Let yourself rest in the feeling of already living that life. Let it feel close. Let it feel natural. Let it feel like home. In the end, everything comes back to who you choose to be on the inside. The world doesn't give you what you chase. It gives you what you embody. When you live from the state of fulfillment, when you breathe as the person who already holds the blessing, life cannot help but mirror it. You are not hoping anymore. You are claiming. You are not waiting anymore. You are becoming. And as you anchor yourself in that quiet certainty, the path unfolds in ways more beautiful and precise than anything you could have planned. Hold the feeling close. Let it guide your thoughts, your steps, and your faith. What you have imagined is already moving toward you. What you have accepted is already taking form. Trust the process. Trust the promise. And walk forward knowing that the life you desire is not ahead of you. It is already within you, waiting to be expressed.